Have you ever stared at the stones of an ancient ruin and felt a whisper of a memory that isn't your own? That feeling, it is not merely imagination. It is an echo, a deep, quiet resonance that ripples through time, touching a part of you that remembers a world bathed in a different light. In our modern life, surrounded by noise and speed, we are taught to dismiss these feelings as fantasy, daydreams of a past that never was. But this feeling is a compass point, a subtle pull from your soul's heritage. It is a form of homesickness for a place you have no name for, a longing for a harmony you feel you were once a part of. This sensation is a clue, suggesting that the story of humanity we've been told is incomplete, that a vital chapter has been removed, and its absence is something your very bones can feel. The silence of these ancient stones holds more truth than many of our history books, and the memory they stir within you is the beginning of a profound awakening. Today, we will walk among the echoes of that forgotten chapter. We will journey back beyond recorded history to the legendary continent of Mu, a civilization said to have mastered the symphony of spirit and matter. We will not speak of Mu as a simple myth, but as a source code for a higher state of being. And we will explore its most sacred legacies, the great stone temples. These were not mere buildings for worship as we understand it. They were energetic instruments, vibrational tools designed with a singular purpose: to serve as keys for human ascension. In this video, you will learn why these stone circles and monoliths were considered living technology, how they interacted with the Earth's energy and human consciousness, and what their silent guidance can teach us about the forgotten potential sleeping within our own DNA. This is not a history lesson. It is an act of remembrance. This space, this vault, is a sanctuary for these quiet truths. It is not a lecture hall, but a hearth where seekers can gather. If this feeling of a forgotten home or a deeper memory resonates within you, I invite you to share your experience in the comments below. Your feelings are not strange. They are signposts. By sharing these quiet echoes, we discover we are not alone in hearing the ancient lullaby of our origins. It helps us all to remember. And if you feel called to continue this journey with us, subscribe to the channel. Each video is a key, and you would not want to miss the door it is meant to unlock. We are piecing together a map that has been torn apart, and every voice, every soul that joins, helps to make it whole again. There is a core principle, echoed in many ancient traditions but crystallized in the Hermetic texts, that says, "The all is mind, the universe is mental. Let this thought settle." This is not just abstract philosophy. It is the master key to understanding the temples of Mu. It means that the fundamental substance of our reality is not matter, but consciousness. The builders of Mu did not see themselves as separate from the world they inhabited. They understood that the world was a projection of a universal mind. When they built their temples, they were not simply quarrying and stacking stones. They were shaping reality with focused consciousness. They were embedding intention, frequency, and sacred geometry directly into the physical plane. The temples were, in essence, thoughts made manifest, prayers turned to granite. Their purpose was not just to stand, but to vibrate, to resonate with the Earth's own mind and with the mind of any person who entered their field. reminding them of this one great truth. You are not in the universe. You are the universe experiencing itself. The stones were simply mirrors, reflecting this forgotten divinity back to all who stood before them. So, let us quiet the noise of the modern world for a moment and journey together. Let us move past the veil of what we are told is real and step onto the shores of what our souls remember to be true. The keys are lying in plain sight, mistaken for simple stones. Let us now explore what these stone keys were meant to unlock. Not just in the ancient world, but within you. Block 1, the living earth and its sacred points. First, before we can understand the temple, we must remember the floor upon which it stands. We must shed the most profound illusion of our age, that the ground beneath our feet is inert, that it is merely rock and dirt and resource. This is a form of blindness. Let us try to see with older eyes. The earth is a vast, living intelligence. It breathes, but its breath takes a season. Its heartbeat is a slow, resonant hum that underpins all of life. A pulse so deep we have forgotten how to feel it. This living body, like your own, has a circulatory system, but it is not of blood. It is of life force itself. A web of vibrant, energetic rivers and streams that flow across the continents and under the seas. We call them ley lines, dragon lines, song lines, faint names for a forgotten reality. They are the meridians of the planet, its nervous system, carrying consciousness and vitality to all parts of the whole. The builders of Mu would never have chosen a site for a temple based on convenience or aesthetics. That would be like a surgeon performing an operation on a random part of the body. The placement was a sacred science. They would seek out the great nodes of this system, the planetary chakras, places where these rivers of energy converged, creating immense, swirling pools of power, places where the veil between the physical and spiritual worlds was naturally thin. They sought the Earth's heart spaces, its points of power, its locations of deep peace. Often these were marked by physical clues, unusual plant growth, strange magnetic properties, or the presence of underground running water, which they knew amplified and conducted these energies. They placed the temples there as an act of communion. Think of it not just as acupuncture, but as a loving conversation. The temple was a point of resonance, an offering that said to the earth, "We hear you, we honor you, let us work together." It anchored the higher frequencies of the cosmos to the deepest energies of the planet, and the human being was the bridge who stood between them. We build on grids of asphalt and concrete that sever this connection, that muffle the Earth's pulse. And then we sit in our sterile boxes and wonder at the source of our deep, unnamed anxiety. You have felt it, this ancient connection, in that old-growth forest where the air itself feels intelligent, on that windswept cliff where you feel a sense of clarity you cannot explain. You were not just in nature, you were standing on one of the planet's holy points, a place where the Earth's soul was speaking, and a part of you remembered how to listen. Block 2, stone as a conscious library. Now, let us speak of the stones themselves. Why drag these colossal, stubborn megaliths for miles? Why not use wood or clay? Our modern mind, obsessed with efficiency, is baffled. We see permanence as the only logical answer, a desire to be remembered. But this is a shallow reading. The builders of Mu were not concerned with being remembered by future ages. They were concerned with embodying a timeless now. Their choice of stone was a choice of medium. They were not building a structure. They were programming a consciousness. They knew that stone, especially crystalline stone like granite, is not dead. It is merely sleeping with a patience that dwarfs our fleeting lives. It is the very bones of the Earth Mother, and like bones, it holds the record of all that has been. Within its crystalline matrix, a perfect, repeating geometric lattice, it has the capacity for memory. We have rediscovered a tiny fraction of this truth with our quartz crystal technology, using it to hold the simple, steady frequency that runs our digital world. The ancients were using this same principle, but with an understanding that was infinitely more holistic. The temples were not just monuments. They were libraries of consciousness. They were geological hard drives programmed over centuries. Every chant, every ceremony, every focused meditation, every moment of ecstatic connection with the divine that took place within the temple's field was absorbed and stored within the stone. The very molecular structure of the rock was entrained, imprinted with the frequencies of enlightenment, compassion, and universal wisdom. The stones held the vibrational history of ascension. To step inside a temple was to be enveloped by a field of living information. It wasn't a library of words you read with your eyes. It was a library of feeling, of knowing that you read with your entire being. The stones would emanate their stored harmony, and your own cells, your own DNA, would begin to resonate with it, remembering the knowledge that had been encoded within them since the dawn of time. We see a rock and think dumb object. They saw a silent, wise elder holding the planet's memory. Block 3, the technology of harmony and sound. And the building itself? The logistics of moving 100-ton blocks with Bronze Age tools? Our archaeology is a collection of frustrated guesses because we are trying to solve the problem with the wrong kind of physics. We think in terms of leverage, muscle, and force, a physics of opposition. The civilization of Mu operated on a physics of cooperation. The master key was sound. Not just any sound, but pure, coherent, harmonic sound. They understood that everything in existence, from the smallest grain of sand to the largest megalith, is a frozen symphony. It has a unique resonant frequency, a fundamental note to which it will respond. Their master builders were not just engineers. They were high priests of vibration. A choir of masons would gather around a stone, not with hammers and ropes, but with their voices and with instruments that could produce incredibly precise frequencies. They would begin by matching the stone's own keynote, humming with it, feeling it, becoming one with its energy. Then, with focused intention, they would introduce new harmonies, new sound waves that would interact with the stone's own field. This would create a phenomenon of acoustic resonance, altering the stone's relationship with the Earth's gravitational field. In essence, they were not lifting the stone against gravity. They were making the stone invisible to gravity for a moment. They were nullifying its mass by shifting its frequency. They worked with the laws of nature as a musician works with the notes of a scale. There was no struggle. The air itself would shimmer, and the great stones would become buoyant, guided into place with an effortless grace. This was not magic. It was a profound understanding that the universe is not made of things, but of vibrations. Our technology is loud, explosive, and conquering. Theirs was quiet, harmonious, and creative. They didn't need to shatter the mountain to get the stone. They simply asked the stone to join them in a dance. Block 4, the temple as a tuning fork for the soul. What was the ultimate purpose of this immense, harmonious, living instrument? It was not for worship in the way we understand it, a pleading to a distant, separate God. The temple's function was profoundly practical and deeply personal. It was an energetic recalibration chamber, a tuning fork for the human soul. You exist in your day-to-day life in a sea of chaotic, discordant energies. The fear projected by your media, the anxiety of your finances, the subtle tension in your relationships, the electrosmog of your technology. All of it pulls your own energy field out of tune. You become dissonant. Your inner music becomes static. In this state of inner noise, it is impossible to hear the quiet voice of your higher self. To enter a temple of Mu was to step out of that chaotic sea and into an ocean of perfect coherence. The temple emanated a single, powerful, stable frequency, the sum of the earth's energy, the stone's memory, and the geometry's harmony. As you stood within this field, the principle of entrainment would begin. Your own scattered, weaker frequency could not help but begin to match the temple's powerful, stable one. It was an involuntary act of remembrance. Your heart would slow, synchronizing with the deep pulse of the earth. The frantic chatter of your analytical mind, the constant inner narrator, would fall silent, starved of the chaotic energy it feeds on. In that profound inner quiet, the healing would begin. Old emotional traumas stored in your cellular memory would surface, not to be relived, but to be dissolved in the pure frequency of the space. Your very biofield was being cleansed, and once cleansed, it could be tuned to a higher octave. This was the Ascension aspect. The temple's frequencies were designed to activate the dormant potentials within human DNA, the parts our science calls junk. It was a catalyst for awakening higher senses, for perceiving reality beyond the five-sense limitation, for experiencing a direct, undeniable union with the creative intelligence of the universe. The goal wasn't to make you bow to a god in the sky. It was to have you realize your identity with the God spark within. Block 5. Sacred geometry as the language of light. And the forms themselves, the perfect circles, the elegant spirals, the precise alignment to the solstices, were not decorative. They were the operating system of the temple. They were the sacred geometry that served as the silent language of creation. The mind of God, or the all, or whatever name you choose for the source of existence, does not think in words. Thinks in patterns, in frequencies, in geometry. These patterns are the fundamental building blocks of everything you see. The double helix of your DNA, the hexagonal cells of a honeycomb, the branching fractals of a snowflake, the orbital paths of the planets. It is all the same divine geometry, expressing itself at different scales. The builders of Mu knew this. They were master geometricians because they were students of creation itself. When they built a temple as a perfect circle, they weren't just making a round enclosure. They were creating a three-dimensional mandala, a symbol of wholeness, unity, and the infinite, with no beginning and no end. To stand in the center was to stand at the point of creation, a place of infinite potential. When they aligned a passageway to the winter solstice sunrise, they were building a clockwork mechanism to draw a specific frequency of light, the light of rebirth, deep into the heart of the structure at a precise moment in time. This geometric language bypasses the analytical mind entirely. Your ego may not understand why a perfect spiral feels calming, but your soul does. Your soul recognizes it as the shape of your own journey, from the center of your being outwards into the world. The geometry of the temple spoke directly to the geometry of your soul, reminding it of its original blueprint, its state of perfection before the distortions of worldly experience set in. It was a wordless sermon in stone, a formula for energy flow that silently guided you back to harmony. Block 6. The forgotten key is within you. So we must ask the final, most important question. If these places are so powerful, why don't they transform everyone who visits them today? Why are they just tourist sites and historical curiosities? Have the stones lost their voice? No. The stones are still singing the same eternal song. We have lost our ability to hear it. We have allowed the sacred instrument of our own perception to fall into disrepair. The people of Mu did not just build external temples. They cultivated the internal temple. They trained their consciousness. They practiced the art of deep, intuitive listening. They could feel the subtle energies of the world around them as clearly as we feel the wind on our skin. Their inner senses, what some call the third eye or the heart mind, were open and active. The key to the temple was never the stone door. The key was a state of being. And our modern state of being is one of relentless external focus and sensory overload. We are drowning in a tsunami of information, of digital noise, of other people's opinions, of chemical and emotional pollution. Our organ of subtle perception has atrophied from disuse. The path to reawakening this power, to hearing the song of the stones again, is not a journey to a physical location on a map. It is a journey inward. It begins with the choice to cultivate silence in a world that fears it. It begins by withdrawing your attention from the chaos and placing it on your own breath. It begins by asking yourself, what do I truly feel beneath everything I've been told to feel? The ruins of Mu are not just a memory of the past. They are a promise for your future. They are a signpost, pointing you away from the noise of the world and back toward the profound, silent wisdom of the temple that resides within your own heart. That is the lost continent you are truly seeking. That is the golden age waiting to be reborn. The stones are simply patient keepers of the flame, waiting for you to come home to yourself and reclaim your own light. So we have journeyed far, through the mists of time to a world of conscious stone and harmonious life. We have spoken of ascension, of resonant frequencies, and of forgotten technologies of the soul. And now, at the end of this journey, the mind naturally asks for a solution, a map, a set of instructions to follow. But I will not offer you one. To do so would be to betray the very truth we have been exploring. There are no empty promises here, no five-step plan to instant enlightenment. The path back to the state of being that was once understood in Mu is not found by adding more complexity, but by courageously embracing simplicity. The great work is not to go out and seek the ruins, but to become still enough to recognize that you yourself are one. The shift is subtle yet total. It is the shift from frantic seeking to quiet listening. Seeking is an act of the mind. It assumes the treasure is out there, separate from you. Listening is an act of the soul. It knows that everything you have ever looked for is already breathing within you, waiting patiently to be noticed. This is not a path of acquisition, but of excavation. You are not building something new. You are clearing away the debris that has buried the eternal temple of your own being. It is crucial to understand the difference between knowing a thing and remembering a thing. Your mind, right now, knows what we have spoken of. It has collected the concepts, the words, the images. This is the first step, but it is only a shadow of the truth. To remember is a different faculty entirely. It is a felt sense. It is a full-body gnosis. You can know the chemical formula for water, H2O, and be able to write it on 1,000 blackboards. But to remember water is to feel the blessed relief of its coolness on a day of scorching heat, to feel it quench a desperate thirst, to hear its gentle sound as it flows over stones. The knowing is in your head. The remembrance is in your cells, in your bones, in your spirit. The purpose of this journey together was to plant the seeds of knowing. The sacred task that is now yours alone is to water those seeds with your quiet attention until they blossom into the flower of full remembrance. I will offer you, then, not a solution but a new vantage point. The great error is to believe the Temple of Ascension is a place you must travel to. The most profound truth is that the temple is, and always has been, your own body. Your bones are the megaliths, holding the memory and structure of your life. Your breath, when made conscious, is the sacred chant that alters the frequency of your being. Your heartbeat is the drum, the steady rhythm that can attune itself to the pulse of the earth. Your blood is the living water that flows through the sacred chambers of your inner world. And your conscious, loving attention, that is the high priest or priestess, the one who decides what energies are allowed within the holy space. To see your body not as a machine that gets sick and old, but as a living, conscious temple, is to change your entire relationship with yourself and with life. This is the beginning of the return. This is the key that was never truly lost, only set aside. So where does one begin this remembrance in a world of such noise? Do not try to move mountains. Begin with a single stone. The practice is this simple. Find a quiet place, even in a city park or your own home. Take one small, ordinary object from nature, a stone, a leaf, a fallen branch. Hold it in your hands. Close your eyes. Do nothing. Do not ask it for wisdom. Do not try to feel its energy. Simply hold it, and for 5 minutes, allow it to have your full, undivided attention. Feel its weight, its texture, its temperature. If your mind wanders, gently bring it back to the simple, solid reality of the object in your hand. That is all. You are not trying to achieve anything. You are simply practicing the lost art of communion. You are teaching your nervous system, your soul, that it is safe to be still, to be present. You are resensitizing the atrophied organ of perception. This is the first step in learning to hear the song of the stones again. And the first stone you must learn to listen to is the one you hold in your own hand. As you walk this path of turning inward, you may at times feel a profound sense of solitude. To awaken in a world that is mostly asleep is to feel like a stranger in a land you once called home. The things that occupy the minds of others may begin to feel hollow, and the things that now stir in your own heart may seem impossible to speak of. Please hear this. You are not alone in this feeling. This solitude is a sacred and necessary part of the journey. You are stepping off the well-trodden, crowded highways of collective belief and onto the quiet, overgrown trail of your own soul's truth. Of course, it feels lonely at first. You are learning to navigate by a different star. But your inner truth, that quiet whisper that guided you to this very message, is your sovereign compass. Trust it above all other voices. The feelings of a forgotten home, the strange ache of nostalgia for a time you cannot name, the deep sense that there is more to this life. These are not fantasies. These are the most authentic parts of you, calling you to remember who you are. And even when the way forward is unclear, even when you feel lost in the mists of your own inner changes, know that this too is part of the path. The process of remembering who you are is also a process of dissolving who you are not. And that dissolution can feel chaotic. The clearing of the fog is not always a gentle mist that lifts. Sometimes it feels like a storm that pulls up everything from the roots. Be gentle with yourself in these moments. You are not falling apart. You are falling together. Every moment of confusion is a sign that old, limiting structures are breaking down to make way for a more expansive truth. Even the feeling of being utterly lost is a signpost, for you can only be lost if you are finally off the old map and on the true adventure. This journey we have taken is now at its end. The words will fade. The images will dissolve. The music will return to silence. All that will be left is you and the space that these ideas have opened within you. Let this entire video be nothing more than a passing cloud that reveals, for a moment, the eternal blue sky of your own consciousness. My voice is not the truth. The stones are not the truth. The truth is what is left when all the voices, all the stories, and all the seeking finally fall silent. So I leave you with this one final question, not for your mind to answer, but for your soul to contemplate in the quiet moments of your life. When all the words disappear, what will you remember in the silence?